Feel the disturbance in the force, do you?
Yes, Master.
Fear you are in danger. I do. From the dead, an old enemy has awakened, seeking vengeance.
That creature, Savage Opress, is growing stronger and stronger as each day passes. There's no one left to control him. Something is rising. Something sinister.
Darth Maul, alive?
Tell me, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Maul the Shadow? I thought not. It's not a story often talked about by the Sith. Darth Maul was a boy who was brought into the Sith Order as an instrument of death. His sole purpose, his entire existence as the apprentice of Darth Sidious, was to destroy the Jedi, until the man was forgotten and replaced by his master, simply a pawn who would no longer serve the purpose within the Sith grand plan to retake the galaxy. The return of Maul marked one of the craziest twists in the Star Wars saga. Now there are multiple Sith on the loose, an idea that blasphemes the very existence of the Rule of Two that had defined the Order for more than 1,000 years. Introduced by Darth Bane, the Rule of Two was established to control the Sith's biggest problem: constant infighting. So only a master and a student could exist, one who holds all the power, and one who strives to take it. This way, the Sith Order would continue on through a series of constant evolving duos, slowly growing in strength until they could take the galaxy and destroy the Jedi Order. However, what happens when the student cannot overtake the master? Or rather, is never allowed the opportunity? Maul and the figures surrounding his return showcased this very flaw, and I want to talk about that today. Because what is good, folks, and welcome back to the Villain Vibes, and today, I want to talk to y'all about how the Rule of Two is a scam. The string of events that would lead to Maul's revival was caused by Darth Sidious's paranoia and fear of his new apprentice Count Dooku and his assassin Asajj Ventress. The potential these two had in the dark side had become a threat to Sidious's power as the Master Sith Lord. Ventress was never meant to be an apprentice. She was simply meant to be an assassin, a pawn to be used and discarded. However, Dooku had grown fond of Ventress and saw potential in her skill and cunning shown throughout the Clone Wars. But Sidious did not see things this way. What he saw was a potential rival to his position. Dooku was the apprentice, not the teacher, to be meant to subserve Sidious. So, he ordered Dooku to kill Ventress as a proof of loyalty and to put him back in his place before he gets any ideas. A test that Dooku was reluctant to carry out, which only gave Ventress an opportunity to barely escape with her life. Ventress was a lost soul. Her position in the Sith left her with a constant need of approval, a need to prove herself, a need for a sense of purpose. But after her master's betrayal, she was left with nothing. So she returned to her home world and sought the help of the Night Sister cult and their leader Mother Talzin. This would lead to the creation of the next important figure in our story, the monster Savage Opress. Savage was created to be a tool of vengeance, a weapon wielded by Ventress to destroy her former master. His life and personhood no longer mattered as he was shaped into an obedient servant of revenge. He was tormented and abused by both Ventress and later Count Dooku, as he was sent undercover to learn how to use the dark side of the Force to become an even more powerful weapon, until he could no longer take it, and he turned against both of them and ran off. Savage was alone, hunted by both the Sith and the Jedi, with no one to rely on, so his direction became clear: track down his brother Maul, who was long believed to be dead. Savage believed he had a duty to his brother, who had lost his way. They were both rejected by the Sith, used and abused for their entire lives. The tragedy of Savage's life is that exactly like Maul, he was never allowed to serve himself. The males on their homeworld were subservient to the Night Sister cult and treated as nothing more than breeding slaves. Savage was treated less like a person and more like a fetishized beast of violence due to his size and strength. He was essentially a spaceman dingo, valued for his physical attributes, but depersoned in every aspect of his life. Savage lost his identity and was just turned into a beast destined to follow. Whenever anybody refers to Savage, they talk to him as if he is a rabid animal. He felt the pull to the dark side as his life had been nothing but pain and suffering, so his anger only fueled his raw power in the Force, making him even more of a danger to everyone around him. Maul was the only person that he could relate to, a brother in arms that he could face the galaxy with. Together, they could forge their own path. But first, they must fulfill their need for revenge, and then they shall be free. Maul had all but driven himself mad over his need for revenge. He had lost everything because of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi that took his legs and his life along with it. His sheer hatred for Kenobi literally helped keep him alive, as his fractured mind could only focus on making Kenobi suffer like he has had to. Maul had to suffer in silence for a decade with nothing but his fractured mind in the shadows of a trash planet. Sidious did not care about him. The closest thing to a father Maul has ever had simply replaced him when he was no longer useful. His place in the Sith Grand Plan no longer mattered. The man who was supposed to bring down the entire Jedi Order now left with nothing. This left Maul with nothing but anger and resentment for the man who ruined his life. Kenobi had everything. He had a brotherhood within the Jedi Order. He had a student that he can pass his teachings down in Anakin. He had a love that he would risk anything for. Maul had none of this until Savage came on the scene. Now he had an apprentice, he had a family, he had someone he can pass his teachings down to, somebody he can face the entire galaxy with. Maul and Savage were angry at the world, fueled by the dark side, and only sought to burn the galaxy to ruin so that they can forge their own path out of it. Their rampage across the galaxy, leaving dead Jedi in their wake, multiple planets in ruin, and a civilization in civil war, all eventually catching the attention of Maul's former master. And as I pointed out at the top of this video, Darth Sidious does not take potential rivals well.
Remember, the first and only reality of the Sith. There can only be two, and you are no longer my apprentice. You have been replaced.
The tragedy of Ventress, Savage, and Maul showcased the flaw in the Sith code and the dark side of the Force as a whole. The dark side is a drug that feeds on a person's worst attributes and creates an addiction for power and control. It's a high that a person never comes down from and only ends up destroying them. The path of the Sith is one built on a forever search for power, which is why the rule of two was implemented. Sith cannot coexist with each other because power demands taking it from others and abusing those who don't have it. Ventress did not know how to function outside of this system. She was lost because she had defined herself on her position in the Sith and what she had, and the second she lost it, she did not know who she was anymore. Meanwhile, Maul and Savage were slaves of this system, and in an attempt to free themselves of their suffering, they became slaves to their emotions. The dark side is a snake that eats its own tail. It's so blinded by hunger that it cannot process the damage it's doing to itself. I say the rule of two is a scam because it only created technicalities for the Sith to continue undermining and killing each other. Technically, Ventress was never meant to be an apprentice, she was just an assassin. But it was Sidious's fear of this mere assassin's potential that caused the rampage of Savage in the first place, a rampage that would lead to Maul returning from the dead, creating a potential threat that could have undone the entire grand plan that the Sith had been setting in place for 1,000 years. In destroying everything these people have built, everything that they have ever worked for and tried to gain, Sidious simply leaves them with nothing but their suffering. They have no place in the Sith Grand Plan. They have nothing. No family, no home, no place in the galaxy. They were never meant to ascend. They were only meant to die. And that is the flaw of the rule of two. I hope y'all enjoyed the video today, folks, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button and hit that comment section down below and let me know what other villains y'all would like to see me here on the show. And be sure to hit that sub button down below to keep track of my content, because honestly, I will find more reasons to talk about Star Wars and the Clone Wars, because honestly, I do not know why I didn't give this show the time of day when I was a kid. I remember some of this stuff, but upon this recent rewatch, man, this shit is some good shit going on over here. But that's a story for another day. And for now, I must bid you all adieu. So goodbye, good night, Sage out.